39. The Fleegics tasted lousy. I wasn't surprised. It tasted worse than the watery chocolate my mother makes. The stuff they serve at the Bermuda Triangle Chili Parlor is 10,000 times better. Lance Herschelsheimer and his friends made a big deal about drinking the Fleegics. This didn't surprise me either. After all, from what Lance Herschelsheimer had just told us, they had all lived. It was all they had in the way of entertainment. Nobody made a sound while they handed around the cups of Fleegics. The cups were made of plastic. They were like some cups my parents had for drinking coffee and stuff outdoors. They're called thermo cups or something like that. They have double walls and with an airspace between, and they're supposed to keep your drink hot longer than an ordinary cup. It doesn't work. The handles of the cup were made of transparent plastic, and inside each handle was a little sprig of weed. I suppose that was the Zygmunda formosa Lance Herschelsheimer had told us about. Once the cups of Fleegics were distributed, they were about 1/3 full, which I wasn't sorry about. Everybody sat around with closed eyes, taking a little sip now and then. I tried to get into it, closing my eyes and taking little sips, but it just tasted like watery hot chocolate to me. I could see that Aln Mndlshn wasn't too excited by the Fleegic either. The Fleegic drinking ceremony went on and on. It seemed like it was going to last forever. Since everybody's eyes were closed, it seemed like it might be a good time to slip away and have a private conversation with Aln Mndlshn. I poked him in the ribs and held up 2 fingers, and then 6. Aln Mndlshn nodded, and we both went into state 26 and tuned ourselves out of Waka Wakan Plain and back into Hogborough. It turned out we were sitting in the front yard of a house in West Kangaroo Park, about 6 blocks from where I lived. "What do you think?" I asked Aln Mndlshn. "About the doings in Waka Waka?" he asked. "So far, I'm really sorry I've sold my comic books. Still, I'd like to hear about them and it, if Lance Herschelsheimer ever finishes his story, and I would like to meet Rolls-Up, if we get the chance." "But mostly it's sort of boring," I said. "For sure," Aln Mndlshn said. "It would be our luck that we get to visit another plane of existence, and it turns out to be the dullest place in creation. And that Fleegics. Yuck!" "Well, let's give it a few more hours," I said. "It's still early, and things may pick up." "Sure," Aln Mndlshn said. "I've got nothing else to do. And besides, I've got an idea that we may be able to help those dullards out with their problem. They're not mean or evil, just so uninteresting." We tuned ourselves back to Waka Waka. Everybody was still sitting around contemplating their Fleegics. I guess that the whole business took half an hour. Finally, the Wakan Wakans started to wake up and blink and look around. They all looked very contented. "There," Lance Herschelsheimer said. "Wasn't that beautiful?" "Oh yes, beautiful," Aln Mndlshn and I said. "I'm glad we had a little Fleegics on hand so you could have this rich experience," Lance Herschelsheimer said. "They only gave us enough so that we don't go crazy and revolt. Often we don't have any Fleegics for days at a time." The other Wakan Wakan cave people were drifting away, cleaning up the Fleegic things and wandering off to their little rooms. "Mr. Herschelsheimer," I said, "about them. You were going to tell us about them and it." "Oh yes," Lance Herschelsheimer said. "I was so transported from the ugly reality by the Fleegic experience that it completely slipped my mind. Thanks for reminding me." Then he fell silent. "Yes?" Aln Mndlshn said. "Yes," answered Lance Herschelsheimer. "About them," I reminded him. "Oh yes, them. Where did I leave off?" I hoped this was going to be worth the effort. "They came," I said, "and took over the Zitkis bushes and half the city of Lenny, and then they kicked everybody out of the city of Lenny. Who are they?" "They," said Lance Herschelsheimer, "are 3 Nafsufulian freebooters, pirates, plunderers, known as Manny, Mo, and Jack. Somehow they managed to cross the interplanar barrier just as you did. Upon arriving here, they looked around for our most valuable commodity to steal. Naturally, in our Fleegics culture, the most valuable thing we have are the Zitkis bushes. So they took those over. Since they couldn't take them away with them, they stayed here and set up sort of a pirate empire. They export the Zitkis berries at cutthroat prices and give us just enough berries to make a tiny quantity of Fleegics for our own use." "But if there are only 3 of them, why don't you all just kick them out?" Aln Mndlshn asked. Well, my boy, Lance Herschelsheimer said, we can't do that for two reasons. First, we have such a highly evolved and peaceful civilization that it's been centuries and centuries since we ever had any sort of police or army or tough guys. There's nobody here who would know just how to go about kicking them out. They're very scary, you know. Second, they have it, the unspeakable beast, the hateful thing, the malicious monster, the woozle. The woozle? That's its proper name, Herschelsheimer said. We're so scared of it, we don't even like to say the word. Oh, it's a fearful thing, boys, and invisible. You never know when it's lurking about, ready to bite and scratch or thump you to death. Has it killed anybody recently? Aln Mndlshn wanted to know. No, not lately, Lance Herschelsheimer said. We've learned to avoid it, to sense its presence. We've learned to stay in the dimly lit places where it doesn't like to come. At night, we hide in our caves. When was the last time it killed anybody? Aln Mndlshn asked. Oh, a very long time ago, Lance Herschelsheimer said. I don't exactly remember when it was. Who did it kill? Aln Mndlshn asked. Who? Oh, somebody. I think it was... Actually, I don't really remember who got killed, Lance Herschelsheimer said. I'd really like to know who got killed and when, Aln Mndlshn said. Could you ask the others? Lance Herschelsheimer called out to his cave mates, who gradually straggled out of their little cells and gathered in the big room. I'm explaining to these newcomers about, you know, it. The Wazzle, Aln Mndlshn interrupted. Yes, that, Lance Herschelsheimer said. Alan is very much interested in knowing who was the last person it happened to kill, and who that might have been, and when this tragedy took place. Will someone please tell him? There was a lot of confused muttering and arguing among the cave people. It soon became clear that none of them knew who the woozle had killed or when. Well, let me ask you this, Aln Mndlshn said. When was the last time anyone has suffered any violence at all from the woozle? And who was it that it attacked? I can answer that, Eugene said. It was me. Not 6 years ago, I was standing on the edge of the forest, taking some sun, and something crept up behind me and gave me a terrible kick in the seat of the pants. It was for sure. It would have done worse, but I ran into the shadows where it couldn't follow. Anyone else? Aln Mndlshn asked. There were no other first-hand experiences of the wuzzle. Now, has anyone ever seen Manny, Mo, and Jack? Aln Mndlshn asked. Oh, yes, Lance Herschelsheimer answered. We've seen them many times. We see them when we have to go to the city of Lenny to collect our Zitkus berry rations. And sometimes they call us together and holler at us and frighten us. What do they look like? Aln Mndlshn asked. Oh, horrible, Lance Herschelsheimer said. All the other cave dwellers nodded in agreement. They have mean faces, and they have strange, scary eyes. They're small, but wiry and hairy, and they have long, strange noses. Can anyone go see them? Aln Mndlshn asked. Nobody would ever go see them unless they're sent for, Lance Herschelsheimer said. Why go looking for trouble? When they do send for you, what happens? Aln Mndlshn asked. Well, first they sound this huge electric horn. You can hear it all over the countryside. That's our signal that they want us to come. Then we all gather on the steps of the Palace of Culture, the biggest building in the city. After a while, the 3 bandits come out and stand at the top of the steps and call us names and make faces at us. They go inside and send it. The Wazzle? Yes, that thing out to chase us away. What does the Wazzle do when it comes out? Aln Mndlshn asked. We don't wait to find out, Lance Herschelsheimer said. The second they go inside, we all run away. This is very interesting, isn't it, Leonard? Aln Mndlshn said. Now tell us something about Nafsulia, he said to Lance Herschelsheimer. Well, there isn't much to tell, Lance Herschelsheimer said. Nafsulia is all things Waka Waka is not. There's no order in Nafsulia, no culture, no government, no morality. We tried to contact some kind of government in Nafsulia through our friend Rolls-Up to see if we could get some help in stopping this tyranny. But Rolls-Up couldn't find any government in Nafsulia. Is Rolls-Up nearby? Aln Mndlshn wanted to know. Yes, Lance Herschelsheimer said. We may want to see him later, Aln Mndlshn said. But first I'd like to have a talk with my friend Leonard. If you'd excuse us, we'll go out into the forest for a while. When we come back, we may have an interesting proposition for you.